one of the best Mitch Hedberg jokes ever is my FedEx guy's a drug dealer and he doesn't even know it.
Oh, that's so goddamn funny.
Brilliant.
How great is that?
Robin.
Very special day for the first time on our show, Artie Lange. What's up, Artie?
What's up, guys? First of all, thanks for the support through all this craziness.
Of course. You got to support.
Yeah,
you
that
just got to do that.
Yeah.
Before we get into anything, I just want to acknowledge that Ron White hour was great.
I got here a little early, and I heard Vic is one of my favorite comics. I've known him forever. I don't know Ron, but listen to those two. It was like listening to a really smart, funny Klan meeting. You know what I mean? Like, before we get to the Jews, let me say I'll be playing Indiana, Pennsylvania. I mean, they are really funny guys, you know, and it was perfect.
And they like a drink or two. My God.
Yeah, Ron's a legendary drinker.
I think Ron White was the problem with the water, by the way. I have to say. I think he might have taken it a little too far.
How about when you know you're going to drink that excessively, you just know you have water before you go to bed? You don't wake up and expect someone to just bring you a gallon of water.
And if you're beating the shit out of your body like he does, then how about you just take it out of the tap? Just get some water out of the tap and go back to bed.
I'm going to look for Voss water. Get it out of a hose.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are too many carcinogens in the tap.
Right. You just down like a bunch of rot gut whiskey.
He had water the whole time, right there in the fucking bathroom.
You know, it's funny that you're talking about the Kennedys and everything. I played that Cape Cod Melody Tent a couple of times up there in the middle of Hyannisport, and it's true that the cops were saying, you know, Bobby had 13 kids, and there's all these cousins you never heard of before who still get in trouble, and the cops treat them like royalty outside of murdering. Maybe if they do murder somebody, they just pick them up, they take them to the compound, drop them off, and say, we're not fucking with you. You're Kennedys, you know.
They might have murdered someone. We just don't know.
Right.
They already brushed that under the carpet.
They looked the other way, but
yeah.
I work with Bob Schimmel at this place once, okay, and it's outside. You probably know it being from my
absolutely know it.
So I went on before Schimmel, and he goes on stage, and he had to do an hour. 20 minutes into his set, the people in the front row are screaming. They're pointing at his neck, screaming like, "Oh my God!" A brown recluse spider had crawled up on Schimmel somehow and was on his neck. It looked like an enormous black spider tattoo, but it was this poisonous spider. So the cops very calmly go to me, "Yeah, that's a recluse." Yeah. And I said, so what are we going to do? He goes, well, if it bites him, he's got 20 minutes.
Come on.
Wow. He goes, if that bites him, we got 20 minutes to get him to the hospital. So Schimmel starts jumping around like a 13-year-old girl when he notices it. He's like, get it off me. Get it off me. Dancing around like something a guy really can't recover from. Like if you see a guy you think it's cool dancing at a wedding or something like that. The thing falls on the fucking ground, scurries to the front row, and the people in the front row dive away. Eventually it calms down. Schimmel picks up his mic and like a pro just finishes the hour.
Just keeps going.
Gets him back. He was a real pro, man.
How did he know he had it on his neck?
I mean, it was right there.
But how fucking awful was the rest of his body that he didn't feel it? 80% of his body covered.
He's an old school guy. Like, he always brought a suit. He was one of those guys who always took a suit on the road. And it crawled up his suit somehow and got on his jacket.
That's fucked up. How big are those things?
It was
the
legs are big, so you know. But so it was right here. It's just how casual the cop was. He goes, "Yeah, that's a recluse."
Yeah, we've seen those before.
He's got 20 minutes.
When the audience notices there's an insect on you, that's a big fucking insect.
Right.
That's a big bug.
Exactly. He's telling jokes about shitting himself while he's fucking a cat. Is that a spider on you?
And they say that's how he probably got away with a lot of the stuff. Because I remember talking about that with somebody, and he's like, well, he's always so well dressed.
Right.
It's who said that to me? Adam Carolla said that. He goes, it's just not as dirty.
It's a good move. Yeah, exactly.
He was a brilliant comic.
Yeah, he was.
Schimmel was great.
Talk about a fucked up personal life. My God, I did the road. We did about 5 gigs with Blumenreich in the New England area. Blumenreich never did a set of comedy. He picked us up at the airport in a $200,000 Bentley.
I've been in it.
That said comedy on it. This is a promoter from New England. Okay, so me and Schimmel look homeless. We're on the side of the road. He picks us up, and I'm going, Bob, we're on the wrong end of this. Yeah. The license plate said comedy.
Yeah. I know the exact car.
Yeah, okay.
I went for a ride. I was in Boston. He goes, hey, I want to pick you up. Picks me up in the same thing. And
he loves it.
And then he just drives around all of Boston. He wants everyone to see his amazing car.
I own that. Right. He loves showing off to the comics, though.
Yeah, he loves showing off.
Very smart dude.
Yeah,
Very
no,
smart.
I haven't seen him in years. I hope he's doing well.
The guy.
Yeah, me too. My heart goes out to him. He's a delightful man.
I saw him about 2 months ago. Oh,
yeah,
he's fine.
Okay, he's doing okay.
No, he's he did the Newport festival up there, and I did that. And again, he picked me up in another car. He's got a Mercedes now.
Yeah, he does. He has a lot of fucking cars.
He's got a younger broad with him, and he's doing fine.
Okay,
he's doing fine.
How you holding up, man? You look okay. This is as clean shaven as I've ever seen Artie. It's only like 3 days worth of growth. I'm like, Artie looks good.
No, you
I
look
dolled
good.
up. I dolled up.
You look all right, man.
It just, listen, guys, again, I appreciate it, but it just proves, unfortunately, what times like this prove is just how many stupid people there are in the world. It's really awful. My two favorite Twitter, but one guy on Twitter thought I was an ESPN correspondent and said, ESPN has to immediately fire their correspondent, Artie Lange.
No, Jesus.
And I felt like going, yeah, if I was a correspondent, that probably would have been a bad thing to for ESPN.
Well, I mean, our defense is really simple. It pisses me off when the mainstream media took what you did on Twitter and just assume you were going on a hateful rant. I'm like, no, at the very least, you got to acknowledge the guy was going for jokes and laughs.
It wasn't out of anger. It was trying to be. I was on the phone with my buddy, which was like, we were looking at this hot chick, and I made jokes about her whipping me.
Right.
And, I pointed this out. I only came after she was freed from slavery.
Right.
I only came after that.
That's a great moment in court. That's your big point to the judge.
Your Honor, listen, I want to point this out. My client only ejaculated after the woman was free.
A bit tasteless as far as jokes go. That's fine.
Tasteless is okay.
That's okay, but don't fucking turn it and say that Artie is a hateful person, has hate in his heart. That part drove me insane.
So once you acknowledge that and realize that's the case, that it was all just comedy, then all you want me to apologize for is making jokes. Think about it. If you realize I'm not for slavery, and, it just was joking around, you want me to apologize for jokes, and that's a bad way to go, man.
You can't do that.
Did she ever respond or no?
No, which was smart of her. Why do it? I mean, I apologize to her if she was offended by it because, directing it at her was a dumb thing to do with this Twitter thing of making it at Kerry Champion.
That's the only person, if you had to apologize to anyone, it was just that one person.
Of course.
Like, hey, sorry, I said that.
Well, that's what I did.
Yeah.
That's what I did. So I'm not going to apologize to Dick McGee in Iowa who thinks I'm an ESPN correspondent. And again, it makes you look at the rest of the main... Watch the banter on the Today Show. If that's what people want, man, then gladly have it.
Sadly, they do.
Yeah.
Sadly, that's exactly what they want.
Pick any day and watch the Today Show and listen to those fucking idiots talk to each other, trying to be funny, laughing at each other. That offends me.
So ESPN said they won't have you on again, right?
Yeah, that's going to be a big chunk out of my income.
But watch, it's funny though. After Ray Rice comes back and plays football, they will absolutely have Ray Rice.
Sure.
Interviews
and coverage.
Profiles
They won't block him out.
It's completely ridiculous.
This guy knocked out a woman. They debated it for 6 months.
Right.
And
he will play again. I said it from day one.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
he's too good.
Year.
I was starting to think he would play this year, but he'll sit the year, and then someone will pick him up next year. Yeah. Michael Vick's playing. I mean, come on.
No, exactly.
Remember the details of that story?
He electrocuted dogs. Right. Or at least was there watching it, drowned another... listen, man, it's not a person, but if you could do that to another breathing thing, there's something wrong with you, man. And, I just... To be put in that category is crazy. People
were you shocked by that?
Monster?
You got a lot of stuff people saying they were hateful and things. It's always weird with a comedian when people assume your motive is anything other than to be funny.
Right, exactly. Patrice always made that point about Twitter. It's context, and look, it's going to get every one of us in trouble eventually. It's just the level of it.
Because they're just waiting and looking to get people in trouble.
Hopefully it never affects our radio show.
Right.
No, see, that's their whole. You just made a great point. That's their whole life. They're just waiting, doing. Man.
They're waiting and then looking and just trying to get people in trouble. Period.
It's like Scarlett O'Hara's Black Maid says in Gone with the Wind. You just waiting there like a spider. Waiting there like a spider. Oh, Miss Oakley. So they got nothing else to do, man. But a bunch of people sent me tapes of these Z Morning Zoo type guys who are just again, these guys just. They wait for someone to do something wrong so they have an easy target. So because they never say anything controversial. They never have an opinion.
Right.
But now they can have an opinion knowing it's safe, and that's hating me for a day. It's like, we can't talk about the tweets from this monster.
That's how they presented it?
The tweets from this monster, the racist tweets, I can't even go into what it was about.
Why can't you go into what it was about? Why can't you?
Because they're on Z100, I guess.
Some days I wake up and go, what the fuck am I missing? That just basic logic shows that you're not a monster and you weren't going for hate.
Yeah, monster. That's the word monster.
There's a better debate there. All right, he tweeted this. Some find it tasteless. Let's debate that.
Right.
Let's debate that.
Well, why is Artie jerking off watching a sports show? Like that to me was the most disturbing thing.
I wasn't even jerking off. I was actually kidding. I mean, maybe that could happen, but no. Listen, you're right. Exactly. And how long would that debate even last? It's not even worth airing.
I agree. But I mean, if you're going to do something, take that stupid angle.
Right.
Not the other stupid angle, which is,
No, the other one makes more sense, sure, absolutely.
Well, it makes a better story, too, I think a lot of these media outlets absolutely understand that you were going for jokes, but it makes a better story to go, no,
well, those people piss me off even worse. The stupid people are just stupid. It's like blaming a retarded guy for throwing shit at you. You know what I mean? When a smart guy throws shit at you, then you're more mad at the smart guy.
Because they know better.
Yeah.
You just know it.
It's ridiculous.
All these people grew up with Carlin and Pryor and the rest of them, and a lot of these edgy comics, they know exactly what you were doing.
And that's the other thing. All these idiots who I just talked about, they hear Richard Pryor's name, and he's this deity. And look, I love him. I'm not putting myself in the league of Pryor, but I was saying, he's this deity. Play one of his albums to them, and they would be so... And don't tell them who it is. They'd be shocked. They're like, who is this monster?
Or show them a transcript.
Just show the transcript.
Like the album where he sucked cock at L.A. County Jail or something, or whatever he talked about. It's like these guys would go, another favorite thing on Twitter was this. After I apologized to Kerry Champion, somebody puts a picture of this poor woman, this black woman was raped and killed in South Carolina last month. They tweet me a picture of that, and underneath it says, "Hey Artie, apology unaccepted." Like I'm responsible for this.
What do you think? What do you think your jokes motivated the rapist murderers? What the fuck are people thinking?
It happened before I made them.
Oh, we're doomed.
It happened 2 weeks before I made the jokes.
Everyone has just lost their fucking mind.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, thank God there's people like this show out there fighting the good fight, but
did you get any support from people you didn't expect it? Like obviously we have the same line of thinking and we get it, but were there any places that people who you were surprised came out and supported you?
Not really, unfortunately. Everybody was, I mean, again, like you guys played that set from Race Wars that I did, and like all those guys, all the black comics down there, I knew they would not give me shit about it because they're all smart, funny guys. It's we just laugh at it, and in the last few weeks, Chris Rock got in trouble for something. It
was 9/11.
Well, that was ridiculous too.
I know. It's an American making an observation that probably 1 million Americans share, but he can do it in a smart, funny way on national TV, so he's wrong, The
key was he was smart, and I said he respected the situation. He respected the Boston situation and the New York City situation. He acknowledged, whoa, this is a little heavy, but this is what we're all thinking. I'm going to say it today, and I'm going to make it really funny. What's wrong with that?
In other words, yeah, exactly. And what's more interesting? Do you want that, or do you just want a guy to make more jokes about airports? All right, fine, whatever. If the airport jokes are funny, that's great, but I'd like to see a guy step out of bounds a little bit, I
think we need people to push back finally. People that really enjoy the stuff really got to make their voice heard, which is a hard thing because you don't really make your voice heard when it's something you like. It's so much easier to make your voice heard when you don't like something.
Right, and that's the other thing. I don't want to get people that are in trouble that are friends of mine. You know what I mean? Like I appreciate the support, but I don't want people to get in trouble just for supporting me.
Right. Well, they're scared probably to support.
Right, exactly. I mean, I was supposed to do that show with you guys. That
midnight show. Right, midnight.
Yes. I mean, you and Kurt and me were supposed to be. When my agent called me up and said, because of those tweets, Comedy Central might not have you on, I just did a special for him that was insane, like as far as offensiveness is concerned. And I said, I thought my agent was kidding me. I said, what? 2 hours before the car was coming to pick me up, they said they're not letting you do it.
Did the agents, they called my manager. This is what happened. They called up, and they said, hey, tell Jim, thank you for not canceling. That's what they said. We didn't cancel Artie. They said, we told him, we were concerned with the tweets, and all of a sudden he went on Twitter and said that we canceled them. They said that they didn't.
That's a lie. Unless my agent's lying to me. Listen, it's a fucking business full of bullshitters, so I don't know. But, That's what I mean. We're in bullshit country.
We got a hug for that one.
Yeah, exactly. So who knows? But no, I was told my agent fought, and at the very end they said no. There's just too.
Oh wow,
such pussies. There was too much pressure from who? Who am I, Muhammad Ali? What the fuck did they think was going to happen if I showed up at that taping? There's going to be people wasting their time, bro. If there is, God bless. Listen, I sold out a theater because of this in 2 minutes. I'm playing the Keswick Theater in Philly. This hit, I sold it out in 5 minutes.
Bravo.
It's like a 2,000 seat venue. I went up 10,000 followers in Twitter.
Bravo.
10,000.
Good for you.
And, I mean, I'm not even saying good for me. It's just that's how crazy the fucking world is.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden they're thinking about you. Whether it's good or bad, when people are thinking about you, they're like, oh my God, that's right, we like Artie. And they'll follow you on Twitter.
They downloaded my special a shitload more times. I just had a book out. That went up 15 spots on the... I mean, guys, look what you're doing. You know?
I need a controversy. That's the problem. I need a good controversy.
If you're going to do it, this was... I mean, it was sexual, and it was... Again, I said I was dressed up as Thomas Jefferson getting whipped by her. I mean, come on, guys. All right. Yeah.
How long do you think it'll take before you get back on some of these shows and places?
That's the thing. What do I... What am I going to do on ESPN? Well, now I can't go make... It costs me money to go to Bristol, Connecticut.
Right.
And I can't go talk about the Buccaneers secondary?
Right. Okay.
I can't go make jokes about the fact that Ray Lewis is on ESPN. How about that?
We've said...
Wow, yeah, you're right.
Ray Lewis
is on ESPN.
Ray Lewis didn't kill somebody, but he was about 2 feet from someone who did. And he knows who it was.
We've shown disappointment in the sports talk shows. We would think they would be the last guys to be a bit edgy. And they're a bunch of fucking
they're
pussies.
All scared. You're right. They're all
I don't know if it's because they're scared and they got
management.
management.
By Disney or
maybe
whoever.
because they got management breathing down their necks, but you would have thought...
But
you would have thought they would have kept the edginess going a little bit.
No, that's why it is. Listen, guy, again, it's a different world we live in, but let me shut this damn thing. It's a different world we live in, but it really does make me appreciate what you guys did, because it's not easy on any level, It's who knows what's going on.
We got shit for supporting you. I'm like, whatever. I mean, if you don't get this, I don't know what to tell you.
All right.
It's really, to me, it's black and white.
Right.
And that was the problem I had.
Yeah, what do you hate worse, the woman issue or the black?
It's really so easy to defend this stuff to me. I don't even think we're stepping out there and being that brave. It just seems like the logical thing to do. We were the ones that stepped out for Imus.
Right.
The only radio show.
That was cool. That was cool. It was, yeah.
I don't know the only radio show, because I don't know what, but for in general, I think it was the only radio show. And our thought with that is, look, they're going to come after your radio show next, you idiots.
That's a good way to look at it. Absolutely.
Because they turned that into a hate thing. He was going for a dumb joke.
Listen,
that day.
Again, it was a joke, and it's just, look, he came into radio, and those were the jokes you made, man. We all did, kind of. Look, think about how different the world has become as far as comedy's concerned, just in the last 10 years alone. Mm-hmm. When we all started at least listening to radio, it was a different world, man.
I was watching 16 Candles last night, hence my 9 tweets about it.
I saw.
There was a moment in that movie where the guy is joking about someone's dressed a certain way, and he goes, "Is he retarded?" And when I heard that, it just shook me. Like, not in a bad way, but like, I haven't heard that in so long.
They don't go down that road.
You forget, like, these little things that aren't even that dirty that you can't say anymore when you hear them.
I'm sorry. Well, watch the original Bad News Bears. You got an 11-year-old blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid from California throwing the N-word around every 5 seconds.
Try keeping your dick down while you watch that.
and they're drinking beers.
The kids are, and then you try watching the new Hollywood, like the Arthur with Russell Brand. Listen, I like Russell Brand.
I know, so much better than the original. I totally agree.
The Arthur with Russell Brand, whoever was responsible for that really should be kicked out of show business. I mean, he doesn't drink and drive. I mean, the original one, and again, I watched that with this girl I was dating. She was 28 years old. I watched the original Arthur. I said, you got to watch that. He's driving out to that broad's house.
Right, Susan, yeah.
And he's just fucking down in whiskey while he's driving and laughing. And I'm laughing like I did when I saw it when I was 13. And she's like almost crying. Like, oh my God, he drinks and drives? I'm like, I forgot how she grew up with MTV.
Then don't make the movie.
Right.
Don't make the remake then.
Right, make another movie. Don't call it that. Make it another shit movie. They made a new Bad News Bears that Billy Bob Thornton just walks through like a mannequin for a paycheck, and everybody.
No beer drinking by the kids. No salty language.
There's a kid in a wheelchair.
Yeah, they had to make it all PC for everybody.
There's a fucking kid in a wheelchair who makes the left out. He catches the ball like like Ron Swoboda in the 69 series.
Going for a Rudy moment?
What's the fucking message?
Right.
You're giving these kids, if you're in a wheelchair, you could probably play right field for the Mets. Well, maybe for the Mets. But no, you can't.
Did they make fun of the kid at least?
No, of course not.
When we were growing up, that would have been made fun of in a comedy.
He would have been the catcher.
In a comedy.
He's perfect. He's already sitting down, sticking behind the plate.
Exactly.
That PC bullshit.
He makes the last out.
Yuck.
Like he catches the ball in right field.
I'm proud to say I never saw that movie. I just knew it was going to be awful, and
we got Walter Matthau in the first one. It's a 70s comedy.
Guy.
Watch like North Dallas 40. You know, remember those movies?
Yeah. Before they could use real football teams.
Slapshot, exactly. Nick Nolte in that movie. You know, it's just we grew up on different shit,
and that's why comedy shouldn't be remade. There's no CGI that you're like improving on. You just don't need to remake them because you're only going to soften the jokes.
Get a new story. Fuck it.
Yeah,
they can't. I mean, they're running out of shows in Hollywood to remake. They've remade everything. I can't think of except Mr. Ed. I can't think of one fucking old show they haven't redone.
And even that, they're doing a fucking horse cartoon on Netflix now. So Mr. Ed was maybe just too stupid. Or now you'd have to explain how you treated the horses. Like Lucky, 3 fucking horses died on Lucky.
They put ice in its gum to get it to talk like that. You know.
Yeah,
how did they do that? Is that how they did it?
I heard
peanut butter.
I heard peanut butter in their gums. If you really,
so that's bad to get diabetes or something.
I'm sure Peter would have a problem with that.
Well, you could CGI the mouth right now. You could have the fucking thing smoking and talking, and you would look realistic.
Well, you got to give us time from that generation to adjust. Give us time to adjust. It's hard to. I mean, you talk about Peter. Remember Keith Moon in the Who? He used to have the drum set. The big drum was filled with water, and there was a big fish in it. A big dolphin.
Oh, wow.
Every time he hit it, the fish goes.
Was fucking out of its mind. Like, what the hell's this?
That wouldn't be allowed.
Am I living through an earthquake?
He's playing Won't Be Fooled Again, and a fucking carp inside his drum.
I forgot about that until this moment. Yeah, Keith Moon used to have a fish in his drum set.
He would keep a fish in it with water.
Not every show.
Not every show.
Oh, the fish must have hated the Who.
He would break it out, though, for special occasions.
Yeah, you know, for something like the Kennedy Center Honors or something.
Yeah, he was nuts. Keith Moon was nuts.
He was a legitimately, like, real nut. Like, he wasn't trying to be nuts. He was a funny, crazy guy.
How do you feel? Are you cool? You coming back here is the first time in a long time. Do you feel all right?
You know, I've been back to do interviews with other stuff for the book, and then the special they had me do a thing here. You know, I worked there for 4 years. It was a blast, a lot of fun, and, you know, it goes on. I mean, I worked at Howard for 8.5 years. That's by far the longest I've ever held a fucking job, you know, almost a decade. So
how long was Mad TV?
2 years.
Okay.
That was only 2 years?
I mean, the show lasted 14 years.
Oh, you did too.
I was on the first 2 years, but it was nice for residuals.
Were you on with Bobby Lee?
Bobby was after me. Bobby
he's coming in today, too.
He's a funny guy.
Yeah.
Bobby came the third year, I think, and I was there the first 2 years.
Yeah.
That's another one. The recurring character I did in that was a character called That's My White Mama. I played a black mother that was like a bad sitcom.
Did they have you in blackface or did
No, I was just in a white curl, a pink curler and an overcoat, like a house coat. And my catchphrase was, "Don't let me break my foot off in your ass." That's all I did for 4 minutes. Even back then, it was different. So.
And the TV show, they kind of screwed you on a little bit, too, because I did Artie's show a bunch of times. It was a fun show to do, man. It was,
I mean, you know, the thing about that was it was going back to censored radio. And 8-minute breaks. I don't know how to fucking hit a break or hit a fucking post. I don't know how to do any of that shit.
But it was successful. What happened in the end?
They had a 3-year deal, and they 2 years and 7 months into it, they said you can't come. They FedExed me my stuff.
Is that how they did it? There was no real notice or anything? Or they
sorta. That's how they did it.
Isn't it funny when they're done with you guys? They just are done.
They're done.
They kiss your ass. They'll basically blow you to get you.
Well, they know
at their place, and then when they're done, they just.
It's so different.
Go
man.
fuck yourself.
And again, they're operating out of fear. And I go to these executives, like I can still be funny. I'll get another gig or whatever. But what do you guys do? What do you know how to do except this?
Right. You starting a podcast soon?
I'm doing a podcast. December 1st, I'm starting a podcast.
Nice.
From my place. I'm cutting out all the middlemen, man. I'm just, I'm paying for all the shit myself, and that's it.
It's going to do very well.
Well, we'll see.
What are you going to
have your pal? Yeah.
Just the Artie Lange Show? Or
it's just going to be called the Artie Artie Lang, Artie Quitter podcast.
Okay.
So, and it starts December 1st. If you go to Artie Quitter on Twitter, you can find out information about it.
You look healthy,
so that's
too,
in
man.
a few weeks.
Everything going well?
I've looked worse. Yeah, no, I feel, again, I could drop a couple. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel good, man. I feel good.
You seem like you're in a good place.
Yeah, again, this whole thing just, it rejuvenated me in a way, so I was like, this is actually a good thing, because I know there's no real, in the end, people are going to realize I didn't really do anything that bad.
Did you have any moments of panic, though? Like, whenever this shit happens, all of a sudden you're like, oh my God.
When it first happened, you immediately cut to yourself going, wow, what if I really am loading trucks in 2 years?
Right.
Because I don't, I have some money put away, but I take care of my mother, and, I'm like, Jesus, God, well, what if the bottom falls out financially? Only in the most shallow of ways. I was like, what if I got no fucking money?
Right.
And no way to make it. But nowadays with podcasts and stuff, and knowing how to do stand-up, man, is a big thing.
You got a fan base, too. You can always make a living doing it. You're never going to go broke because you always be able to go
I'm blessed with that. The people, I have a following. Again, I sold out a 2,000-seat theater this way. What are you going to do?
Controversy fucking never hurts. As long as you're not fucking the guy from, Seventh Heaven. That's a rough one.
That's bad publicity.
Yeah.
That's bad publicity. The guy from Seventh Heaven is fucking kids.
Yeah, he pulled his dick out in front of a 12-year-old. Let's go see him on Tuesday.
Yeah, it's not going to be the same.
Where's he playing?
Right.
Well, even the shows we did together, those fans are all, they just loved it.
It was a weird split, too, and it was like our fans and Howard's fans, and they were really great crowd. There was no issues.
They got along.
I went to the same people, really.
Yeah, you were there in Atlantic City.
They absolutely got along, which was kind of cool to see.
Yeah, that first show, that first weekend, we sold 6,000 tickets.
That's right.
I
think you sold 5,500 of them.
Well, that was, why? That was really my first time back after stabbing myself on heroin, so people were like, okay, well, let's see if he's walking. It was almost the Elephant Man type thing. Let's see if he can walk, exactly.
Stabbing myself on, are you glad that happened in a weird way? No, but did it wake you up?
It got me off heroin, I guess. That's a positive. That really is, man. Heroin is one of those things where everything you hear about it's true. There's no hype.
I never did it.
It's not like God bless. Don't do it. I mean, look, the Grand Canyon, some people are disappointed, Mount Rushmore. Heroin's everything you hear. It's always cracked up to me. Heroin is everything it's advertised. It takes your soul. I never sucked a cock, but if I wasn't making a lot of money. All
right, we each have an experience to share with each other. So,
I was blessed with a good job making money, but it was literally I was making, for a while, I was on the road with a security team. I had bodyguards to keep me off drugs, and another 2 were getting me drugs at the same time.
Come on.
You talk about chaos. I had 2 guys I hired to keep me away from heroin, 2 guys I hired to get me heroin. And
they fought it out every night.
It was like
who usually won?
The humidifier and the dehumidifier.
What do you think?
The heroin always won.
Always won. Okay.
Because I'll tell you what. Listen, these guys. If I really want to get it, I'm going to get it. They got to sleep at some point. There's shifts and stuff. I had a guy. I was at a hotel in Vegas. I won't say which one, but the guy left it under a garbage can outside on Las Vegas Boulevard. I just went out and he told me which garbage can it would be under, and I left money underneath it, and I grabbed the shit and I went back in. And it was like 5 o'clock in the morning. No one saw me get up and leave. I mean, if you want to get, it's either that or try to do a show in withdrawals, and I've done that, and that is not a good show.
How long after do you start puking and going whatever?
About 7 hours. So you got 7 hours, man, from the last fix. So it's a full-time job. It's a full-time job.
So you basically had to at least 3.5, 4 times a day just to maintain.
Yes. Here's where the living hell came in. Say I got a gig in Pittsburgh, okay? You can relate to all this except for the heroin part, okay? Right. I got to get on a plane in Pittsburgh. Now, I got maybe 100 Percocet on me that'll stop the withdrawals for a couple of days. Do I try to get through security with that? Or do I risk going through security and go to jail? Right. And I got a record. I'm a convicted felon. I could look 3 to 5 years for trying to get that on a plane. One time I tried, and a security guy was a fan, and he said, Art, I won't call the cops, but I got to take this shit. And I'm like, really?
He was a fan.
I said, yeah, you're right. Well,
you're not really a fan, then.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, if you're a real fan.
Yeah, you're a real fan. You go,
I half the shit.
I checked them.
So now I got to go to Pittsburgh, all right, with no shit. I got a show in 5 hours.
But couldn't you have a couple Percocets or no?
Well, he took everything. He took everything. So now I'm naked going in there. So now, and this happened in about 18 major American cities. I would get to the hotel with my road manager. He'd go in to check up and everything and check in. He didn't know anything was going on. I literally I check my bag at the front desk. I make sure he's gone. I walk around. I get to a town car outside the hotel. And I say to the guy, every town car guy knows. I say, I need heroin. I need.
Oh, you just say it straight up.
I say, he goes, all right. He goes, how much you got? I go, I got like $4,000 on me. And he goes, his eyes were, you know. So the problem is, like a tumbleweed, you keep gathering people, though. Because now this kid's like, oh, you're that comedian, right? I'm like, yeah. He goes, can my sister come to the show tonight? I'm like, yeah, whatever you need. So now this guy's in my life.
Right.
And he's an important guy in my life because I can't fuck him over. He goes, listen, we'll go. So I go to this awful part of town, the worst part of Pittsburgh. I've been to the worst part of Kansas City, the worst part of Detroit, which is Detroit. The worst part of St. Louis, the worst part of Seattle. I've been everywhere with these town car guys because I couldn't get on a fucking plane with the shit. So if I can't score there, now these guys go, hey, give us a couple of tickets, we'll bring it to you. So now these guys are in my life, and they want the money up front, of course. So now I give these guys 2 G's, and I go, get me enough to whatever, you know. And about half the times they showed up, half the times they didn't.
So you do get fucked sometimes.
I've had to do sets in withdrawals. And the other thing is you shit your pants sometimes. I mean, you'd get diarrhea.
Did you shit your pants on stage?
A couple of times I almost stopped. One time in Stuart, Florida, I said to the opening act, the local guy, come out here. You got to do it 5 minutes while I go to the bathroom. I said I had to take a piss. I would have shit my pants on stage.
Jesus.
Could you imagine that video? Could you imagine that?
Right.
That went viral. She'd release that as a special.
I mean, I almost shit my pants on stage. And I mean, like one of those withdrawals heroin shits is like because you get binded up. So it's 5 days of like omelets.
Oh.
It would have been the worst moment. Like, I don't think I could have psychologically recovered.
Right.
You know. And so that's the living hell of it. That's the living hell of heroin. And if you're traveling, like most people on it don't go anywhere.
Did you ever think of FedExing it to yourself? Like,
I did.
Oh, you did do it.
One of the best Mitch Hedberg jokes ever is my FedEx guy's a drug dealer and he doesn't even know it.
Oh, that's so goddamn funny.
Brilliant.
How great is that?
That's brilliant.
But that's another guy. Like I got into it well before Mitch died, and I had real serious conversations with him about it. He was as dark as you could get about it, because I was always actively trying to get off it, because I said, I remember the days when I wasn't doing this, and it was just better. You know what I mean? It was just better. And he said, Mitch said to me, I tell my friends, I tell everybody, look, I want to do this till I die. I like it too much.
Wow.
I want to do this till I'm dead. Don't try to stop me. And listen, you think you love it, because if you're not on it, it's like the worst flu you've ever had times a million. When you might shit your pants on stage in Florida, you know.
When did you stop loving it? And then how many more years was it after that?
You know what? Oh, probably a year in. The 6 years I really chased the dragon, as you say.
Right.
A year in, it was hell. A year in, it was like, I'm not high. I'm not getting high anymore. I'm just doing this to maintain a regular lifestyle. And I'm doing this just to get on fucking stage. And, you know, listen, God bless the Stern Show, man. I was making 80 to 100 grand a weekend. And I would, you know.
Is he looking for people?
I think I ruined that scene. I officially I took a metaphoric shit in that scene. So I would say to my road manager, you gotta give me 15 G's in cash. He would get it. It's funny, I always paid my taxes, though. I always was that Al Capone thing with Italians. I was like, no matter what, I got to report this. So I overpaid, so I would never get in trouble. But I would, you know, again, if you overpay these, and I would say like the dealers, I'd say, look, you could rip me off here. I got, you know, I grew up, you know, in the city. I'm not an idiot. You could fucking beat me here.
Right.
But I'll give you another $2,000 if you bring it. So think about that. And, you know, these guys are businessmen. And they would always show up, and they would always bring a girlfriend's friend. Who are these people? These are friends of mine. How do you know this guy? We played baseball together once. The bullshit stories just mounted. And they would, like, take over. And they were smart enough to know they had carte blanche. They had me in a shit situation. So they would take over like they were Elvis's crew in the back. They were like, you know, they would put cold cuts in their purse. I'm not kidding.
Why are you stealing Midnight Cowboy? If it's free, I ain't stealing it.
Exactly. They just took a little too much. So yeah, when that's your life, that's when I know. When that became my life, I said, I got to stop doing this. See, Mitch started shooting it. I never shot it.
You were snorting it.
I snorted it. So, which means I had to get better quality shit, which is very scary. I had to get this white Peruvian shit or this China white shit they talk about because nothing else would work for me. The brown stuff you had to shoot. And
why'd you never shoot?
I just the truth, I never.
The famous scared of needles, but
well, here's the thing. I never really knew how to. I'm surprised. I go to a hospital. Someone who's been to medical school for like 5 years to become a physician assistant can't find an IV. They can't find a vein. There's like a guy sleeping on a beer bottle on 7th Avenue who finds a vein.
He'll find a vein.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They tie themselves off. It was complicated. You know, it's like that old thing. You know, how do you hang yourself? How do these people know how to make a knot when they hang the? You know, once my life became that hell, I was done with it. It took 5 years to get off it.
I never thought about going to the cities and having to cop. And did you, when you taking the Percocets that would help you, couldn't you just put them in, I'm sure you put them in an aspirin bottle. How did you try to transport them?
I used to put them in cigarette boxes, everything. But, you know, the x-ray thing, they would see, there's certain things they're on the lookout for, weapons, and they would look for the pills and stuff.
Well, didn't you have a prescription or no?
Yeah, but there's not a doctor.
Not for 100.
So I'm giving you 100 for 2 days. Take 30 tonight at 8.
Right.
Yeah, I was taking 25 of them. I was getting up and, you know, it's almost like a cliche for breakfast. I was eating them like
just popping them.
Yeah, I remember we were supposed to do the Comedy Central roast together. We were doing Saget's roast, and you couldn't make it because you were
completely because I was in. I started doing Suboxone, the Subutex shit, which if you mix it with heroin within 12 hours, you go into this awful illness. And what happened with the Saga roast was I took Suboxone about 3 hours after doing about 40 bags of heroin, snorting them. And I took Suboxone. And
why did you take it after that?
Because I had forgotten I even took the heroin, and I just said this will get me on the plane. And the Suboxone is a blocker, you know, and
right.
It helps you with the withdrawals. And that you can get but it doesn't give you the high is the problem. So that mixture totally fucked me over.
Now, I remember they said the Comedy Central, they're like, look, we'll put a doctor on the plane with you. And
here's where show business gets evil. I thought it was Frank Sinatra. And meanwhile, they're like, look, Jeff Ross wrote 4 fat jokes. So
Jeff Ross, do you know how fucking bad Jeff Garland got beaten up that night?
I know, so they had to get Garland in my. He agrees 2 hours later. I was like, what's going on?
I said, Artie, it's Jeff Garland.
Why are they all attacking me? Sorry.
All the fat jokes.
I don't do heroin. I'm not on the radio. What are they saying? This shit.
I was on the phone. Why are you? I'm not from Jersey. What's that about? No, listen. What happened with that was I got on the phone. Talk about a scary conversation. Like, you don't know what their motives are. I was on the phone with Joel Gallen, the producer, who was a good guy. He was sort of on my side by the end, and my lawyer and my manager. And
this is day of or no?
This is morning of. I would have just made it. And they said, and Comedy Central executives, whose names I won't go into, but they said, look, we could have a jet at Teterboro, private jet waiting for you. We'll have a doctor on the plane, and you land, you come right here, and you do the roast. We'll fly you right back. We'll eat the $70,000 that's going to cost. Oh. And we'll have a doctor on a plane, which to me means if whatever I needed was going to be administered, you know. And in that hell, I realized it was a bad move. Even in that, I said, I can't do that.
What made you say no? Were you afraid that you just would live through it, or?
Listen, I like the thought of going there and just making it. My appearance, first of all, would have been. I mean, you guys on the fly, you would have written 15 jokes that were just. And I said I would have been defenseless. I had my jokes, but I'm like, oh, Bob Saget, the Olsen twins. I don't know what the fuck. What would have happened would have been disastrous. And I just couldn't get out.
You don't want to humiliate yourself.
That's smart. Yeah. Well, and I don't want to die. You know, that's the other thing. Who knows what this guy? If this guy's going to let me figure out the dose of morphine.
Right. Yeah, listen, we got this guy Conrad Murray. We're going to put him on the plane with you.
I'm going to get some. Can I get some propofol with you? Basically, they said we'll have an operating room on a G6
in the sky for you
on a Challenger.
That's got to make you feel pretty important. No, like no one's ever offered to fly. I have to fight.
That was odd.
Yeah.
I mean, but what are their motives? Probably because, like, they
wanted you.
Just as much as me making jokes, they wanted to make the jokes on me.
Yeah, they kind of like, oh, this guy will be great fodder for the comedians.
Oh, they knew it'd be.
That's why Lampanelli was the perfect person for a roast, because she made great jokes and she could take the great jokes.
Yeah, at least she could take a beating.
That's what I mean, and she could give one too. So she's a perfect roast person. I was looking forward to that because Saget directed that movie I did with Norm Macdonald. He's a friend. Norm was there. You were there, guy. It would have been a fun weekend, but
Norm was hilarious.
Wasn't to be.
Yeah, right.
They want you for the ratings, Artie.
Yeah, well, listen, it was flattering that I had that conversation where they said, we'll have a jet waiting for you with a doctor on it.
Jeez.
How about that doctor? 6 years of medical school. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing.
That's a pretty cool gig for a comedy. We need a doctor. We need to usher a comedian to Los Angeles.
He's getting me to a roast. That's what other doctors are figuring out cancer medication.
I got to say, everyone around here has read I haven't read your book, but Crash and Burn, they say, is an amazing read. An amazing read.
Listen,
you were pretty damn honest in it. It's what everyone is saying.
It's my second book. It's the second bestseller. I'm really proud of that. And, look, I just let it loose. What are you going to do? I was inspired by your first book, The Honesty in It, Jimmy, to tell you the truth. I really was. Because a lot of these comics, and even some of the bigger ones, they just really... they do their act in a book form, and it's kind of mailing it in. It's kind of ripping people off. So when I got the first deal, I said, listen, I'm just going to really be honest about all the serious... I mean, it'll be funny just because it's funny.
Sure.
And I'll just be honest about all the other bullshit, too. And it worked. So I did a second one when all the other craziness happened.
I read the excerpt when you stabbed yourself. That was that was hard. That was one of the most unbelievable reads ever.
That was hard to write. It was even hard to...
I can't even imagine sitting down and going, all right, I'm going to write about this now.
I can't imagine doing it. I can imagine writing about it, but I can't imagine actually what that final... Do you remember it at all?
Well,
or no?
It was never like a real it was like I never, like I said, if I had abs, I'd be dead. Sorry. I want you to laugh. No, if I had abs, I'd be dead. If I were David Beckham, you'd be saying, fuck. Right, David was great. I couldn't get through the fat, and
I'm not hitting anything.
It was like, fuck? So it's like if it's you'll have just a general reaction. You'll have general reflex going, that hurts too much. That hurts too much. And I was like, well, maybe here. I thought about the neck, but then I was like,
yeah.
Listen, this is how dark it got. I thought about different ways to kill myself. I said, what if I just jump off an 80 story? I'll book myself at the Four Seasons. But I honestly said, what if I fall on somebody? I thought about that person and their family.
Absolutely.
I was being thoughtful. I said, could you imagine a woman on like Oprah Winfrey, and underneath it says, Artie Lange fell on her son?
Exactly. He was one of 50 killed.
Artie Lange fell on her son and 4 of her nephews.
The whole family.
Yeah, so that's how dark it got for a while. But I talked to Shrinks when I went away. Said, listen, you probably didn't really want to do it because there's I got access to guns and stuff. It was a fat guy cutting himself.
But do you remember? Were you in a blackout, or do you remember as you're doing it? It's just
I remember it, but I was in the withdrawal stage, so it was that living hell, and I just couldn't. I couldn't go to cop one more time. I couldn't go to Washington Heights. I couldn't get in the car. I couldn't deal with it anymore. And
if you had
the money I spent, forget it. The money I spent and made, and in the 10 years I was working at Howard, I made and blew a small fortune.
How much do you think you spent on drugs, if you had to guess?
One time I tried to figure out dope, gambling, hookers, whatever the fuck you want to call it. Easily a couple $1 million. Wow. Easily. And I mean, again, I really do hope that, we're laughing and everything, because listen, half of my new specials about shit that I went through in rehab and stuff, and I'm proud that I have the ability to write about it and at least get myself out of those doldrums and turn a negative into a positive. But I really do hope people listen to this and go, I just never want to be like that asshole. I mean, because our generation, my heroes were killed from it. Belushi, Pryor, I loved all these guys. Kinnison had problems. And even with all that, I'm still doing it. Well, what more evidence do I fucking need?
Well, getting back to jumping off a building, we go back to that interview. We interviewed a guy that jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. It was part of the documentary.
Did you see the bridge? I own it.
I saw the bridge.
It's one of the best documentaries ever. You interviewed the kid who landed on his ass and the dolphins kept him alive?
Was it that guy? Maybe.
I don't know.
One guy landed on his ass, like sitting.
Yeah.
And he said these dolphins came by and swam around him and kept him alive from drowning until the Coast Guard got there. I think he's the only one who lived, so it must be him.
So it must have been that guy, and we asked the basic question, what were you thinking as soon as you jumped? And he said, I wish I didn't do this.
Right,
He immediately said, fuck, that was a bad idea.
I talked to a couple of New York City cops who said people, you know, a lot of these people who jump off the George Washington Bridge, they go through the water feet first, they go right down to the bed of the river, and they go into the bed of the river, and they get stuck from the waist up, and that's how they die. Come on. They drown. The divers find the guys, like, you know, dead, stuck from the waist down, and so they drowned.
They go right into the mud.
Yeah.
How far is it before the mud?
I guess if you got that kind of jump, it depends on the tide and stuff.
Yeah.
It's doable, yeah.
Amazing.
You go down like a torpedo. It's
of course.
Trajectory, but, you know, that bridge documentary for people that are, a guy set up about 24 cameras around the Golden Gate Bridge, and for 1 year had them on 24/7 and caught, I think, 25 suicides or something.
But he lied. He said they set it up for, what was it? Traffic or weather.
I'm
like, no, somebody went, holy fuck, a lot of people are jumping off this bridge. I'm going to document
he admitted that, but he lied to the city, I think, to say,
to
like,
get it done.
Oh, yeah.
But no, his intent, but he couldn't say
I was going to say, he never, like, tried to bullshit about that.
No, you're right, you're right. But just seeing those little dots in the documentary, just another one jumping.
Some of them just fall, and you see the little splash.
The end of the movie with the guy in the trench coat, dramatically.
Unbelievable.
Going backwards.
Just like, well, what the brilliance of that is then he goes back and finds out the backstory of these people, what their last 3 weeks were life, interviews the family. It's as dark as something can be, but it's brilliantly done. It's called The Bridge, yeah.
Very dark.
Yeah, I never even thought of that, you know. It's like, it was half-ass, which means it was my way of saying, like, if someone can get me out of this heroin hell I'm in, you know, I'll take it.
Where you at now with the whole thing?
Well, I've been clean. I drank about, when was it in Detroit? About 8 months ago in Detroit, I drank one day and my diabetes went through the fucking roof. So I was in the hospital in Detroit for 9 days, which is a lot of fun. You know, so besides that, I'm fine, you know. It's a very...
How do you get past the itch?
The boredom is the worst.
Oh, really? Are you doing the right thing, though?
Well, yeah, no, I work it not as much as I should. We have mutual friends who help me out with that constantly, but that's it. Like that dry drunk thing, it's true. You know, you got, if you're going to do that AA thing, you got to do it the right way. You know,
isn't it amazing the craziness of the thinking? Like, after all this stuff and all the money spent and the things it's cost you,
and you won't do that. Right?
And like going to cop in the fucking ghettos in St. Louis to get it, just so you don't vomit and shit your pants on stage.
Just so I don't, not to get high, just so I don't shit my pants on stage.
Yeah, you're going into a fucking ghetto so you don't shit your pants, entertaining people for $80,000 a weekend. That's the craziness of it. And then all of a sudden here you have the shot of being sober and just doing like an hour a day, talking to a couple of people, and that becomes a chore.
The great thing about an AA meeting is like a plumber or a janitor could say something that changes your life.
Yeah.
They can say something so philosophical. Like this one guy in rehab once said the most profound thing about blow I ever heard. He said the best thing about cocaine is going to get it. And that's so simple, but it's so true. Like coke, like for me, coke was, well, you know somebody can get it and you get that happy feeling. We're going to go and get high. And then when you run out of it, you're like, this is a living hell.
That was always my favorite part. Like an hour after we ran out, just that feeling of that was such a good feeling.
Such a blast.
There's no worse feeling than fucking craving something.
That's something I never smoked cocaine either, thank God. And I was at parties, you know, in L.A. too, where it was right in front of me. Like that's because I knew I'd live in that bottle too. That's scary. The speed freaks you see, man.
You know what's amazing? It's the fact that in show business, whether you're a comic or a musician, what's acceptable in our business is completely different than what's acceptable to an accountant. Like an accountant, you know, people in the office are going to be going, he seems tired today. But you could come in and people are like, all right, well, he was on heroin, but we got him a doctor to get him here. And people are like, all right, cool, let's get a gig.
Yeah. Well, listen, and the other thing about rehab too is sometimes people say the funniest shit unintentionally. Just these morons you're in there with. I had a guy, because sometimes in the middle of their story about getting high, they'll give their stupid opinion on something. This one guy in rehab, he talked about he was in Amsterdam getting all fucked up. So me and my cousin were in Amsterdam. We smoked weed, a bunch of weed, and then we went to the Anne Frank Museum. And by the way, she had plenty of room.
He said that?
That's what he
Okay, thank you for sharing, Hans.
He goes, "Let's smoke weed with it." By the way, she had plenty of room. All right, can we just get that straight? We're like, what? She had plenty of
fucking funny.
That's a Hard Knocks drug story when you're calling Anne Frank a whiner.
Right.
Me and my brother had less room growing up. But, you know, it's funny you talk about the Hans thing. The same trip, we go on one of these boats. I got a hooker. I called her my whore guide. She knew more about the Rembrandt Museum than the fucking... So this guy looked like one of Hitler's wet dreams, blonde-hair, blue-eyed guy. Again, with the Anne Frank thing, we're in the little gondola going through, and he's giving us a tour of the city. And he goes, that is the Anne Frank Museum. Very, 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 very tragic, very depressing, Anne Frank, of course, you know. And he put his head down, and I guess he allotted himself the amount of time that's good for
Dramatic,
that.
right.
About 20 seconds, he gets up with a big smile on his face, and he went, "And that is a great place for pancakes." I tell him my last stand-up special, the story about this other guy in rehab. This guy, group therapy. Sometimes in group therapy, the therapists will give you the therapy, which is my problem with. Like, we don't know. The therapists don't give you the therapy. They let the other people do it. Like, us morons are talking to the new guy. Like, what are we going to say to these people? You're the person with the fucking degree. This enormous woman, her name was Angie. She had like a cup of coffee that looked like a kiddie pool. She would rest on her enormous stomach, and she would sip from it. So there's like 6 of us in the group, and this guy Juan comes in. New guy in the group, and she takes a sip and goes, "Juan, why don't you tell the rest of the group why you're here?" So he gets up, and this is what he says. He goes, "Listen, don't judge me. I'm not on that judgmental tip or whatever." Like, that's what he said. I don't know what that means, but and then he goes, "I kidnapped my best friend's baby, and I sold it for angel dust." And then he sat down. Okay, so there was like a huge long silence after that. I was like, "I kidnapped my best friend's baby and sold it for angel dust." Then he sat down. There's like a couple minutes. The counselor takes a sip of the coffee, looks at me, and goes, "Artie, feedback?" Feedback?
What the fuck are you supposed to do?
I feel Jim. What the fuck am I going to say to this guy? This guy should be playing chess with Charles Manson. Feedback.
Holy shit.
Yeah. But she wouldn't stop looking at me. And look, I talked in front of people for a living, but I was scared to death. I got up and I said, "Listen, Juan, we've all had shit days. Try not to do that again." I don't know what the fuck.
Try not to do that
I don't know
again.
what the fuck to say to him. And then he fist bumped me.
What a brilliant financial decision to make, though. That's it's crazy as it is. Cut through the bullshit. That's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, why not?
Amazing.
Yeah, that's what he
I got the wrong message out of that, but I.
Jim, you monster.
Yeah, what a great broker.
Yeah, Artie feedback. That's what I want on my fucking tombstone. Artie feedback.
I'm gonna piss my pants.
I gotta piss too.
We'll take a quick break.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
You want to hang?
If you want,
Yeah, hang.
I'd love to.
We'll do other material. We'll talk about Kim Kardashian's ass or something.
Oh, God.
All right?
Yeah,
We'll do
And Bobby
something
Lee
else.
will probably be coming
Is Bobby
in.
Lee here?
Not here yet. No,
he's
here.
Oh, he's here. All right.
When did he get here?
We'll hang with Bobby Lee too. What
Like
the fuck?
a few minutes ago.
Oh, good,
He's sitting
yeah.
on the floor in the office.
As he
That's
should
an
be.
Asian thing, right?
Yes, it is.
Get him
Yeah,
a chair. Get him a towel.
We'll take a break. We got Artie Lange and Bobby Lee's going to join us next to wrap up the show. So stay there.
Tell him, Fred.
The Virus. Sirius XM. This